And what we specifically found was that Black women were the least likely to show up to take the exam. And so women overall were less likely, but Black women in particular were less likely to show up to the exams, which moves them out of the hiring process and limits the ability to move forward and diversify the force. For passing the civil service exams, so the civil service exams are calibrated so about 80% of people pass. And we found that in 2020, there were no racial or gender differences in passing the exams. But for preceding years, so 2016 through 2019, we did find that Black women were less likely than other groups to pass the exams. Once the background investigations are taking place, we found that Black men who were applicants were most likely to be disqualified. When we pooled across the 5 years of data that we had, Black men, only 43% of Black male applicants qualified, where for the rate for all applicants was 56%. Hispanic men and Black women also have lower than average qualification rates of 45% and 47%. So what we're able to show with these numbers is not that we can't show the reasons why necessarily, but what we can show is that there's some discrepancies that need more study and more focus in order to make sure that that qualified people are making it through the process and that biases aren't leading to some people moving along when others are being disqualified. So we want to make sure that everyone is moving forward who's qualified to move forward. And then what we also found that in the first 9 months of 2020, 93 officers were hired, or officer trainees were hired, and these were the applicants who were hired to enter the academy. And 73% of those officers were white men. And in the preceding 4 years, so 2016 to 2019, white men comprised 63 to 67% of all new hires. So in 2020, that number increased. And the percentage of applicants, or a percentage of new hires who were women and people of color, declined. So that shows that there are some disparities in the hiring process that we were able to identify with the data. And while we can't, with the data that we had, look at some of the causal factors, what we can do is we can help identify where those exist so that moving forward, more attention can be given to those areas and that hopefully those can be decreased.
So I want to have a follow-up question, and I know that you can't speak on specifically, but could you speak on some of the disqualifiers that you know of?
Absolutely. So the most common disqualifier is actually about arrest history. So there are specific charges that disqualify somebody from being certified as a police officer in Tennessee. And those have to do with driving under the influence, stealing, so theft is a permanent disqualifier. For other arrests or misdemeanor arrests, if they're expunged and they don't fall into specific categories, then there can be a waiver from the Peace Officer Standard and Training Commission, the Post Commission, and they can still be certified as a police officer.